The sound of rain hammered against the steel roof of Nellis Air Base, echoing through the hangars like distant artillery. Inside Hangar 12, a young woman stood motionless beside the sleek silhouette of an F-22 Raptor, her reflection glinting faintly on its silver body. Her name was Captain Elena Ward, call sign Ghosthawk. The name alone carried weight among those who truly knew what it meant to earn it. But most didn't. To most, she was just the girl in the cockpit, the one who didn't belong. She had fought for years to get here, to be one of the few pilots trusted with the Air Force's most advanced fighter jet. But now, standing beneath the dim lights, she was moments away from being stripped of everything she had sacrificed for. The air inside the hangar was cold and sharp, carrying the metallic tang of jet fuel and betrayal. Colonel Richard Hayes, a battle-hardened man with decades of combat experience, walked toward her with his usual measured stride. His face was carved by years of service, his voice heavy with authority and exhaustion. "Ward," he said flatly, "you're grounded, effective immediately. Hand over your badge and flight card." The words sliced through her like shrapnel. Elena didn't flinch outwardly. Inside, though, everything was collapsing. She had seen this coming. The subtle looks, the whispers in the officer's mess, the reports misplaced on purpose. It wasn't her performance. It was her name. Her father had been Commander Nathan Ward, a decorated pilot who vanished years ago during a covert mission over the Pacific. His jet disappeared from radar, and the incident had been buried under classified files and political silence. Some whispered he had defected. Others said he'd disobeyed orders. Whatever the truth, his legacy had turned into her curse. Elena looked at the colonel, her throat dry, her voice barely steady. "Permission to ask why, sir?" she managed. Hayes didn't look at her directly. "This unit's going into a live combat drill with Allied forces. Command wants no liabilities. Liabilities. That's what she was now." She handed over her flight card, the small piece of plastic that had defined her life, her purpose, and her father's memory. As she walked out into the rain, she could almost hear her father's voice echoing in her head. "A pilot doesn't quit when grounded. She learns how to fly higher." For days, Elena watched from the sidelines as her squadron prepared for one of the most important simulated operations of the year. It was supposed to test Allied response coordination across air, sea, and cyber commands. A massive joint drill with real-time radar feeds and live fire zones. The pride of the operation was her jet, the same F-22 she had tuned, tested, and flown through storms. Now someone else would be sitting in her seat. She swallowed the bitterness each time she passed the hangar, pretending she didn't care. But deep inside, she was breaking. That night, while reviewing training data alone in the simulator room, she noticed something strange in the coded radar recordings. A faint but repeating signal signature, a ghost pattern. It looked eerily similar to the last radar ping from her father's final mission. Her heart raced. Could it be possible? Could the upcoming drill route cross near the same sector her father disappeared in? She stayed up all night cross-referencing old mission data with new maps, and what she found chilled her to the bone. The drill zone was dangerously close to an unlisted area, a no-fly corridor masked as an old satellite dead zone. A perfect blind spot for radar, and in that corridor an unknown signal had been active for weeks using encrypted bursts that mimicked friendly radar tags. Elena realized the truth: the drill was being watched. Maybe even targeted, but who would believe her? A grounded pilot? At dawn, with exhaustion clouding her eyes but determination blazing in her heart, she decided she couldn't stay silent. She sent a detailed alert to Colonel Hayes, but by the time he saw it, the exercise was already underway. Fighter wings had launched, ships were in formation, and Allied communications were fully active. Hayes confronted her furiously, accusing her of breaching protocol, of spreading paranoia. He ordered her to stay clear of all mission activity. But as the radar feeds began streaming across the base's main command center, something unexpected happened. A red alert blinked. Unidentified contacts, 3 of them, appeared in the no-fly zone. At first, everyone assumed it was a glitch. Then one of the Allied surveillance planes reported electronic jamming. Hayes barked orders, trying to regain control, but the situation spiraled fast. Communications were dropping, radar images scrambled, and among the chaos, a single familiar call sign lit up the auxiliary radar console: Ghosthawk 1. Hayes froze. For a split second, disbelief and dread collided on his face. "Who's in the air?" he demanded. The operator stammered, "Sir, that's Captain Ward's Raptor." The room went silent. Outside, thunder rumbled, not from the weather, but from the twin engines of an F-22 slicing through the morning sky like a blade of light. Elena had launched herself, unauthorized, into live operations. She knew what it meant. Court-martial, dishonor, possibly worse, but she couldn't stand by while her team flew blind into a trap. Her instincts took over as she broke the cloud layer, her eyes scanning the radar. The ghost contacts were real. Whoever they were flying with military precision, moving fast and closing in. The radio crackled as she switched to the secure line. "Control, this is Ghosthawk. I've got multiple bogies inbound on Vector 9-2. Advise scramble intercept." Silence, then static. The enemy jamming was stronger than she feared. She had no backup, no authorization, and no margin for error. What followed was a storm of adrenaline and defiance. Elena locked onto the nearest contact, maneuvering through turbulence and jamming fields. Her F-22 danced through radar shadows, tracing invisible paths between chaos and sky. One by one, she tagged the intruders, feeding their positions to the crippled radar grid below. Her father had once taught her something no simulator could replicate. When the world can't see you, make them feel you. Using her call sign as a signal beacon, she looped her radar signature to mimic an entire squadron. On the ground, Hayes and his team watched as radar screens suddenly lit up with what appeared to be multiple friendly units, scattering the enemy's targeting systems. It was a breathtaking act of improvisation. She was buying precious minutes for the fleet to reposition. But then one of the unidentified jets broke formation and locked onto her. A missile warning screamed through her cockpit. She dove low, cut afterburners, and swung behind the nearest cloud cover. Countermeasures flared like falling stars. She remembered her father's last words before his final mission, the words she had never understood until now. "If I don't come back, it means I stayed to keep others flying." Her jet shuddered from shockwaves, alarms blaring, yet she refused to pull back. At the last second, she outmaneuvered the missile, luring it into the enemy jet's radar cone. The explosion ripped the sky apart. 2 of the enemy blips vanished. The remaining contact turned tail and fled into the dead zone. Silence fell over the comms. When the jamming cleared and communications restored, the entire command center erupted with voices. Hayes stood motionless, eyes locked on the radar where her call sign still pulsed. Ghosthawk 1. The pilot he had ordered out of the cockpit had just saved the entire operation. When she landed, the runway lights stretched before her like a path of redemption. The moment she climbed out of her jet, soaked in sweat and silence, the ground crew froze. Even the colonel, normally unshakable, stood speechless. For the first time, his voice trembled slightly. "Ward, your father would have been proud." Elena didn't say anything. She simply looked up at the fading sky, where the clouds parted just enough for sunlight to touch the silver wings of her Raptor. Somewhere beyond that horizon, she hoped her father could see that his daughter had finished the flight he never could. And for the first time in years, she smiled, not out of pride, but out of peace. She had proved not just that she belonged, but that legacy wasn't about the name you carry. It was about the courage to rise when everything tries to keep you grounded. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like and share it. It helps these true legends reach more people who believe in resilience, courage, and second chances. Comment below. What would you have done if you were in Captain Ward's place? Would you have risked everything for the mission or stayed grounded as ordered?